everybody, and welcome to episode 148 of the I Rock Knits podcast. Today, I have a friend with me, and this is Aimee of DarnKnit Anyway in Stillwater, Minnesota, which we have talked about many times on the podcast, especially recently when I have some chatting with friends. It's one of the places that I met Matt McCauley when we came over for a Stockinette Zombies birthday party, and this is the woman who is the head of Sweater Camp. And so I really wanted to have her on the podcast. She's going to share some of her favorite knits and some behind the scenes information about running a yarn store. So welcome.
Hi, thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Really glad to have her. I drove over to Stillwater today and I just said, would you be willing to share some of your favorite knits? And
I'm happy
I'm
to
not
be here.
really sure how we met.
I was thinking about that too. I think it might have even been at a zombie birthday party here.
Yeah. Might have been the first couple times I came over here. When did you open the shop?
2009.
Okay.
Yep. So 15 years this year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I moved back to Minnesota in 2006. And so it would have been, I would have been a knitter because I was teaching knitting in Virginia at the time. And I wrote a few felting patterns back then. So it might have been, when did Shop Hop start?
Shop Hop started before I opened.
Right.
So it might have been a few years.
It might have been a Shop Hop that I came to the store, but I don't know that I met you,
Yeah.
Right away.
Yeah.
And then once in 2015 is when I really started, when Kylie graduated from high school, went off, I was like, okay, this is it. Now I'm going to take this time. I'm going to design. I'm going to write my first book. And then I probably called and begged you to have me come teach and talk and do all the things. And Aimee has been super supportive of me throughout my journey of doing this. She has had me teach many, many times, and I do talk about the shop on the podcast a lot.
You've been equally supportive of the shop.
Yes, about half my stash comes from the shop, which is large.
Yeah.
And I love your shop. I wish it were. We are as far apart as you can get in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
She's in the Northeast, way up, and I am in the Southwest, way out. And so, but it only takes me a little over an hour to get over here, like during the day. Rush hour, that's a little different, but it only takes me a little over an hour to go diagonally with the interstate system and stuff. Yeah. So today I took the long way around because I had lunch with a friend. But
and Corey's not a morning person, so she's an afternoon girl.
I am,
which I love.
Yeah. Right. No, and evening. Like,
late night.
We could have, last night, 2:20 a.m.
Not me.
I was putting the podcast up. And usually I try to go to bed by 1, but I get a second wind about 9, 10 o'clock. And when my husband goes to bed, because he's a 5:30 a.m. runner, and we just do not, and during COVID, I just started living on my best life schedule, right? I was just like, you know what? I love to knit and watch TV and be with my dog until late at night. And I hate getting up, and just a world arrives early. Yeah. People want to get up and get going, but I just sleep until 9 and then I start my day. It's just
you do you. I'm a 5:30 up with the dogs, knitting with a cup of coffee or doing my books or something.
But if I asked you or my husband to stay up until midnight, it's
I could never do it.
Absolutely not, right?
No.
And he asked me to get up at 7:30, and I'm like, my day is ruined, right? Like, just like his day is ruined the next day if he stays up super late.
Right.
And I just, at one point, daughter's out of the house, I'm like, I can live, we weren't going anywhere, and I can stay up and live, and I get so much more done between 7 at night and 1 in the morning. So, So I said, could we meet in the afternoon? She was like, sure.
Of course, yes.
So, tell us about how you opened the store.
So, let's see. I was doing I do commercial interior design. That's what I did for a living. And my company was getting bought out by a bigger dealership. And I needed something else to do. And my kids were little. And the new company was like an hour away. And honestly, I just drove by the empty spot and thought that would be a great spot for a yarn store. And then within a few months, we've done it. Yeah, it's a little bit silly, but that's what we did. So,
wow. So you had been a passionate knitter, or you wanted to own a business?
Yeah,
like you wanted to be your own boss.
I thought it would be a really good business idea. I thought it's a great spot. That's all. I thought all of those things. I was not a passionate knitter. I knew how to knit. My grandma
Yeah.
taught me to knit
Yeah.
when I was a kid. So I knew how to knit, and I knit a few things, but I really didn't become a knitter until I opened a yarn store.
Yeah.
Like a knitter.
Right.
And then you can't help but
you-
be a knitter because people come for help, and you just have to learn. It's like trial by fire.
Right, but you also don't get as much time to knit being a yarn store owner.
No.
Right,
You
like
think
I
you
think
will.
people, yes, I
Yeah.
think people think, oh,
Yeah.
that romanticized idea
Yeah.
of
No.
being a yarn store owner.
No.
And I know you and I have talked about the business ins and outs of
Yeah.
running a business and what it's like. And
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and it was, I like to say that it was a, smart business, but it took many, many years for it to be anything.
Right,
That
right.
was, that
And
made us
did
any
you
money.
open with Carly right away?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So Carly's my cousin. And one day I went to her, and she was at my Nanny Jean's, who taught us to knit, our grandma. And I said, "Do you want to open a yarn store with me?" And she said, "Sure." So she wasn't, didn't have a profession other than she was helping our Nanny Jean. She was her personal care attendant. She had 3 little kids at the time too. And yeah, we just did it. I just believe things will work out. It's just kind of in my nature. I'm a glass half full person.
Yeah, but I don't
and-
think it's always super easy to go into business with people, and
Yeah.
have the same agendas and you
Yeah.
guys have just navigated that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, we aren't financial partners.
Right.
So that is probably helpful.
Right.
In that the actual financial decisions are
You're
mainly
yours.
mine.
And so you don't have to share that decision making process.
Yes, but
yeah.
really I was joking at sweater camp that she's had a concussion and she hadn't
Right.
been around for very, very much of the end of the year. And I said, it's like I've lost my emotional support animal because we just make so many decisions together all day long for 15 years. And she was one of my best friends growing up. We're just a year apart. So
So
like
she
our
had
whole lives.
She had
together.
an accident and has been still recovering for
Yeah.
months and months. It's
Yes.
been really
Yeah,
and the
it's been
shop
hard for
has
her.
missed her. The people in the shop have really missed her and
and
her
she's-
energy.
Yeah, and she still does all of our social media. She does so all those great Instagrams and things. Those are
I
all
know.
Carly. So she's still in it. She just isn't right next to me, so I can say, "Hey, would you look at this email and make sure I didn't say something I shouldn't?" It was like all of those little things I'm missing.
So if you don't follow DarnKnit Anyway on Instagram, you should because their sandwich board
Yeah, they're
is
good.
amazing. I don't know where she got the idea to kind of start that, and get
yeah.
that going, but
yeah,
it's really clever.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, we've been doing them since we started, but we never shared them.
Right.
And so now it just became a bigger deal because we're sharing them. So now we have to be real good at it.
Right,
Yeah.
and they're reposted all the time.
Yeah,
like
they're
people
really
pick
fun.
them up, and
Yeah.
What does it say today? It says something about I prefer the term yarn whisperer.
Yeah.
It's out there when I walked in, and it's just a chalk sandwich board out on that has quotes on it, but they're really clever.
Yeah, and everybody
She's-
contributes. So
Yeah.
all of our Rockstar team, we have a board and a Trello board, like a notepad,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we put all of our stuff in there. So
Yeah.
everybody's contributing to that.
Yeah,
So
It's a lot of work though.
Yeah, it
because
is.
I sat down one day to do a bunch of Instagram posts for upcoming because I do Wednesday Wisdom and Friday Funnies to have my feed be filled, but with stuff that I don't have to do daily,
Yeah.
right? And it took me all day. That's a big job.
It's a big job. And Carly will frequently send me a message and say, "Would you do this silly thing?" Because she
Yes.
saw some reel somewhere.
yeah. No,
so she's
yeah.
frequently making me do silly
Oh, I have a
things,
whole
but-
list of reels
Yeah.
that need to be posted too, and
Yeah.
they take even more
Yeah.
time. I
Yeah.
mean, you can do them quickly, but to get them edited and put
Yeah.
up, so
Yeah, she's
that-
real good at it.
There is a job that I don't think all yarn stores have a person for.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And one that's so entwined in the store.
yeah,
Who just knows
right.
it all.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yes, we're so lucky to have her.
okay, so tell us how you learned to knit from Nana Jean.
Yep.
When
So
was that?
I was a kid, middle school, high school. I don't exactly remember. But the only time I really knit was when I was with her. So
Oh, okay.
I didn't go home and knit. My mom didn't knit. So I didn't really do much unless I
But
was with
she's
her.
local.
She lived local.
She was local. Yeah.
Yep. And then I went to college. And then I came home, bought a house, had my first job, and was living the life, And I did live a mile away from her, and I would go over there frequently to have food. She would feed me often. And she would be knitting, and she would say, you really need to knit. Like, you really need to, remember to knit and slow down, and it'll be good for you, and all of this stuff. And one day, and when I kept turning her down, I was not going to sit and knit with my grandma. I was not
cool.
in that frame of mind.
Yep.
And one day she said, she's English, and one day she said, who's going to knit the Christmas stockings when I'm gone? Because she was the Christmas stocking knitter of the family. Yep. And everybody has Christmas stockings. And I said, all right then, fine. She like conned me into it, basically. So then, and I have been knitting since then, really. So, but, again, not seriously until the shop. Yeah. I didn't honestly really even understand the yarn store, like what a yarn store was. I shopped there with my grandma. I would go to the yarn store, but I didn't understand like the community aspect of the store. I didn't know that was even going to be a thing. I didn't hang out in a yarn store. I didn't know it. So that really was a surprise, how much community there is in the store and how important that is for the business. That was a big surprise to us.
And I think people's need to feel that in the store can make or break a store.
Yeah, right? I think you're right. Yeah.
Like if you feel a connection with a worker bee in the store, like it doesn't have to be the owner, but like if I feel a connection, like, oh, she knows me and she knows I like brights, and she's not gonna pick out and call me and say we have new yarn that you'll like, not like that, but just like someone that you
connect with,
have a little bit of connection to, you're much more likely to go back in and want to be in that space.
And I think newer knitters and crocheters don't know, like me, I didn't know, like I think most people don't know that there's an opportunity for community either in a yarn store. So we have to make sure people are aware of that they can get community in a yarn store. I might be jumping ahead, but you got a grant from a local church. We did.
And in order to help open your space to this section that we're in now, which so talk about that.
So a local church here in town decided to offer us a grant to subsidize beginning knit and crochet classes. So the knit and crochet classes were $15, and it included all the supplies, and we provided the supplies and they provided the teaching. Basically, we taught, but they subsidized the teaching. And it really opened the shop up with a bang, kind of the Maker's Lounge part of the shop with a bang. We opened a lounge next to the store.
Which was a former restaurant.
It was.
So you knocked a hole in the wall.
We did.
Like a doorway.
So when COVID happened, our community, of course, couldn't come anymore. And so they were meeting in the hallway behind us or outside in the, so they kind of kept together. But when we wanted to bring them back into the store, we had used our kind of classroom space as shipping. And because we kind of had to pivot to shipping more.
Ship, so you could sell, so you could stay open. And so when we did that, we didn't have room to bring our people back, or how we were going to do classes or events or what we were going to do. And we talked about maybe renting a space upstairs from here. There's a couple of little spaces, but that didn't really work. And Carly's, and the restaurant that was here had closed during COVID and never kind of recovered. And so Carly said, maybe we should just knock a hole in the wall. And she was kidding. But I said, gosh, do you think we could actually do that? And we did. We knocked a hole in the wall. We talked to the building. They were hesitant because they didn't kind of understand. So you're going to be serving food and drink, and we're like, nope. People are just going to come and knit. Well, how are you going to sell? How are you going to make money? How are you going to pay the rent? And we just had to reassure him that that we were going to. That if knitters come and sit and knit, they're more likely to purchase something on their way out. For sure.
So the lounge is open anytime the store is open. The lounge is open, and we welcome anybody to come with whatever yarn they're using. It doesn't have to be from our store,
which I think is amazing. Because I hear that a lot, that in order to get help at a store or in order to go sit at a store for a long time, and I think that was something that was learned at H&H years ago. You really only should let people knit in your shops with yarn you sell, right? Like that was part of a marketing thing to like sell more yarn, and they can buy it there, and then you can teach the class and they can knit with it. And I think we've started to really get away from that. I do think that came out of a kind of a desire for people to do something, and everybody kind of did it for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always been part of our model. Like, you don't have to buy yarn from me to take a class with us. We don't ever require any of that. I mean, our thought is we want you to love us so that you'll come back. So we are a yes store. We will say yes to pretty much anything. So,
don't you guys all want her to be your local yarn store owner? Yes, because the space has an upstairs. It has, and I've done a tour, so of the space and showed it. But there's a fireplace in the middle, and it's a big restaurant area with 4 top tables, and there's a couple of couches and some comfortable chairs. But there's also kind of a classroom space. Like behind the fireplace, they have set up tables, and that's where I have taught, and it's lovely. Because I have taught between yarn aisles in yarn stores, right? I have stood in the corner of the doorway to the office while they brought up 4, 5, 6 chairs, right? Like you're really fortunate. Because people want to have classes, but they do not have a classroom space, right? And so they invite you, but they don't even have a place for their people to sit.
Yeah, we get that. We are extremely lucky. We
and
feel
the space
very grateful.
that you had before it became shipping, was a nice classroom space too.
It was.
When you first opened, you had fabric.
We did. Yes. Yeah, we did. We were going to be like Crafty Planet.
Yeah.
Which is now Knit and Bolt.
Yeah.
And I loved them. And I thought we would be, we'd have yarn and fabric, and there really wasn't a fabric place downtown either. And so we sold like Aimee Butler and, the naked people fabrics and stuff for pillowcases and that sort of thing. And then we weren't passionate enough about it, and we couldn't move the fabric fast enough to make a profit.
Yeah.
And so
did you have sewing machines in here? I feel like
we
you did.
We didn't sell them, but we had them.
Yep. For
and
class,
we did like kids sewing classes and sew a skirt and things like that. But we weren't passionate about it, and it really wasn't. I mean, I think the model is a good one. Yeah. You
have to have people that are bi-craftual though.
Yeah,
in
for
that
sure.
way, you really need people that are working here that also can answer questions on both sides, and that's hard.
It is hard,
right?
Yeah, we faked it. We faked that for sure. It didn't work.
And that was kind of a storage space too. There was yarn bins in some of those shelves for a while. Kind of back stock or whatever, and now it is a selling space, right? Like you've really been able to use that to house more yarn.
The goal is to never have it over here. In the lounge. The goal is to have the lounge always just be the lounge. So
it's an amazing space. This was and I've talked about this, but this was like a pirate themed bar. So it's you can see it's very brick, and the ceilings are dark and low, but in that room out there, it's all windows on that one side. I mean,
I know.
You couldn't have asked for anything more next door, right? Like you would have had to move to get a space like this. So
super lucky.
That's great. And then we are sitting actually at the bar in the back, where you now office. There's 3 computers that are set up on this space, and it is you could have a full bar set up, but we are sitting literally at a bar countertop, which is lovely that you have a space to work and not you also be in a like really cramped.
And we've never had kind of a back room, so I always had a computer like in the classroom space, and so it has been different to kind of be back in the back. They still find me though.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
They find me.
Why don't we talk just briefly about some of the yarns you carry? Like, what are some of the yarns you carry that people could maybe not see elsewhere, or that they could look online, because you have a full online shop for people. You have a full-time shipping guy.
We do. Tom is our full-time shipping guy.
I don't know if you call it full-time.
He's not full-time, but he's here a lot.
That's his job.
Yes. He only ships. He'll sometimes sneak in on a class or two. He'll teach crochet sometimes too. Tom does, but yes, he's lovely. If you ever ship anything from us, he will have written you a note. So that's our Tom. So we sell LaBarre. A lot of bases of LaBarre.
Which is not available in any other yarn shop in the Twin Cities that I know of.
I don't think so. I'm not sure, but we sell lots and lots of it. We have lots of beautiful bases of LaBarre. Let's see. When we sell,
which, if you don't know, I should just say, she is out of France. Yarn Dyer. That has been here to the shop. She has taught classes. You've had an open house that I came to where she taught, and she had samples, and she had her whole tons of yarn. But
And she's been at sweater camp a couple times.
yes, yeah, and showed us her dyeing process, and she's originally from the U.S. but has been living in Paris for many years.
Yeah.
But so that's that yarn brand. If you're not familiar, and I'll also have it put down on the screen here.
Yeah, she's fun to follow on socials too.
Because you guys have the same first name,
We do.
but you wouldn't know it.
Right.
Because hers is La Bien Aimee, and
I'm just
Aimee, right? So it's just different. And I
Yeah.
wonder if when she's here, if she would have gone by Aimee,
Yeah.
or if
I
it
think
was
we called her
Aimee
Aimee.
or Aimee or
Yeah.
Aimee. I don't, you know. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I called her Aimee when
Yeah.
she was here.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. What else
So
do
we
you
carry
carry?
La Bien Aimee. We carry lots of your staples like Barocco.
Yep.
We carry Cascade. We carry some Euro yarns like Queensland, Ella Ray. We carry some of those brands.
Which, if they're podcast watchers for a long time, Ella Ray is one of my favorite. Ella Ray Chunky, which is
Really?
now discontinued.
Oh, I was going to say we don't carry that.
No, it was my. I knit sweaters with that have never worn or pilled
Yeah.
or done, like, just amazing. It's just like a chunky yarn. They worked up super quick, you know, and they just, my owls is out of that. I have a cardigan, striped cardigan. It was just a really good workhorse,
Yeah.
chunkier, you know.
Yeah.
And for Minnesota, it was fine, you know,
Yeah.
because it was heavier than worsted, which a lot of people
Yeah.
in the South wouldn't knit with, but I loved.
Yeah.
And so I do like the Ella Ray
Yeah.
brand,
Yeah.
the style.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do too. We carry, of course, lots of Malabrigo. We carry Blue Sky Fibers. They're, of course, local
Yep.
to Minnesota.
Yeah.
We carry them. We carry some Ba yarns.
Yes.
Yep,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure.
BAAH.
Yep. I think some are starting to carry it more in the city. We carry that yarn, which we like.
And then the front of your store is completely different than any other yarn store.
Yeah.
Well, than most other yarn stores, like,
Yeah.
especially in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, so when we acquired the lounge, we were able to move some yarn out of the main floor of the shop and put gifts there. So we sell a lot of gifts, funny socks and bags and notions and all sorts of things. What used to happen is we are in a touristy town, and tourists would come in and open the front door, and then they'd say, "Oh, it's a yarn store," and then they'd turn around and walk out. Now they walk in and there's maybe something else they can buy that's not yarn related. Or if you come with a group of friends to the yarn, to Stillwater, and you're a knitter and they're not, they can find something to buy. So it really has helped our business to kind of add this little section of gifts. Yeah.
So you have a lot of knitting accessories up there on one wall and needles. But then you can find, like, I bought a flippin' wallet the last time I was here, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was
lots of stuff.
You know, it was all colorful, and I'm like, well, of course I have to have that, right?
And we carry some like baby things now. You know, we have a couple new grandmas as rocks in our team, so we have some new baby things.
It's the whole front area. You can go round and round and not quite see it all. Like, you really can spend some time there before you even hit yarn. And lots of bags and lots of bags.
I love bags.
Lots of bags.
I have a bag problem.
I think a lot of us do. We have bag issues.
I just love a bag.
Baggage. We carry baggage, right?
True.
Whatever. But I do. I love the layout of that section as well.
Yeah, it's worked out well for us. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about some of your favorite knits.
Okay.
Because we have just a few here, and she's just going to share. I thought it'd be really interesting. She's the first yarn store owner that I've ever asked to do this with, and I thought, gosh, their ideas of their favorite knits will be also tied into what was really popular in the shop or what people like to knit, which will be different than from what my friends who have been knitting for 10 or 20 years, or like Mary, 40 years, and what her favorite knits are over a 40-year span, because we have had some things that were quite old that are our favorite knits as well, but I think yours I don't think we'll see the same stuff from you that we have seen from, and especially since several of my friends were from my side of town, where Lakeside was our local yarn store, we had a lot of the same projects and the same yarns from things
Yeah.
because Cynthia and then Bridget and now they're gone.
Right.
So we had some overlapping of some of the things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, the first thing is this shawl. Carly calls this my wubby because I wear it all the time. It's like my security blanket. It is.
I love that.
Yes, it is called Paris Toujours, but we call it the badass shawl because I was wearing it one day and a customer came in and she said, Aimee, you look badass in that shawl. And no one has ever said I look badass, like in my whole 50 years. So now, jokingly, so now it's called the badass shawl. Customers will come in and say, I finally get to knit that badass shawl. Like they think that's what it's called, but it is not. It is called Paris Toujours. I knit mine out of Dream in Color Classy. It's a very simple, just yarn over, knit two together, repeat. Very
it
easy
doesn't
lace.
even change.
No.
This is so funny because I did my favorite knits this weekend and I chose my Fiber Friend shawl, which is the same shape.
Oh.
Don't you find this so wearable?
Yes, for sure.
It's almost like a
Yeah,
triangle.
and, one end
but
is a little bit
it's like
extended.
a chip mark, right?
Yeah.
That's what they would. The shape would. We're
Yeah.
looking at it, but you can't
Yeah.
see it. So like it's definitely longer
Yeah.
where she is, and I love long tails.
Yeah.
I think any design that I do from here on out will have long, narrow tails. It makes things much more wearable.
It does, and you can tie it too. Like we were just in Chicago and it was windy, and so they were flicking back, and so I just did a little knot on them, and it wasn't bothersome.
Right.
Yeah, it's very easy to wear.
And they're not as bulky because they're not thick or wide all the way out. So they really, this is beautiful.
Yeah, and it's very forgiving. So
Well, Dream in Color is a beautiful yarn.
And I don't even know how much I followed the pattern. I mean, I did, but like, some of these sections should be 5 tall, some should be 3. I just did it, and then if you add an extra garter row, nobody's gonna care. No,
Right? No,
there's no,
right.
And then I did another one. So it's the same one,
Yeah,
but just in a different color.
Oh, that's nice to give people.
Yeah.
To give those people that are gray in the world.
Yeah.
Everyone that watches my podcast knows that they'll never see.
Yeah, and there
anything
is some
gray
color
from
in it,
me.
but you can't really see it.
Is this a Dream in Color?
I honestly don't remember what the yarn is because
there are dots.
there's specks in there.
On the back side, you can see them.
So my husband and I were in Washington D.C. a few weeks ago for vacation, just the two of us,
and you can
and
see those colors.
I was knitting this sweater behind us, and I left it in an Uber. I left my Ori backpack, my sweater, which I had just taken the sleeves off of. It had like extra needles, 2 extra skeins of yarn because I was almost ready to switch yarn. My like twister holder for my yarn, the whole thing in my Ori backpack, and I left it in the Uber. And I tried to contact Uber. It was very hard to reach Uber. They don't want you to contact them, really.
No.
So I thought, oh man. So I fretted for a few days and kept trying to reach them. And we got back on a Monday, and finally they Uber messaged me and said, we've talked to your driver. He has your bag. And I was like, I don't even care about the bag. I need the sweater that's in the bag. Anyway, so long story short, I'd lost my knitting. And luckily we were near Fiber Space. Yeah, so we were going to go to Fiber Space anyway, but now I really had to go because I had no knitting for the rest of the trip. So I bought 2 skeins of a DK hand dyed. I don't honestly even know what it was. I probably have the label somewhere.
Yeah.
And
I feel
and
like
had to
this
knit it.
could be Madeline Tosh.
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I
Because
think
they
it was
have
a yarn from the area.
Oh, okay. They
Yeah.
have a gray with a speckle.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I think that.
Yeah, I think it was a yarn from the area.
It's the only gray I own in my stash is gray with colored speckles all over it, and I have this gut feeling that's Madeline Tosh. But there is more color.
Yeah.
So I probably
will try to
not.
find it
but no, it's
before
no
you
big
post
deal.
this so that people know.
We can
But it was a desperation move. I
I
needed
love
knitting,
this. I have
and
never seen this anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah, I really
Paris
love
Toujours.
this.
Yeah, I love it too. It's Heidi. No, I don't remember.
I'll put it. It'll
Okay.
be down below for sure.
Okay.
And my Atta Girl sweater, that I wear all the time, that I have 4 colors of, is yarn over knit together for the whole thing and stockinette sleeves. And it works up so quick because the holes grow, like it helps it to grow so quickly. And I always say, this is one of the fastest sweaters you can knit.
Yeah.
You know, it's just yarn over knit two together with a bigger needle.
And it's easy to
Just
stay
works
on
up.
track because you just always know where the yarn over should be. And
Yeah. No, that's lovely.
Yep. One of my
Perfect.
favorites of all time. Yes. Paris Toujours. And
Well-
just another note, the first one we looked at out of Dream and Color Classy,
Yep.
I only used 2 skeins. It calls for 700 and some yards. I only used 250. It was plenty big for me, so I bought 2 skeins of Classy, and that was all I did.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
a 500. You know,
Yeah,
I do
500.
like a 500 a yard DK weight shawl.
Yeah.
That's about a perfect size.
Yeah.
And if you wanted it bigger, you
Yep.
could just make it bigger.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
That's really nice.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about this one since
Sure.
we referenced it because
Yeah.
it's fresh off the needle.
It is. It still has holes under the arm and stuff. So this is Lento by Jonna from Lina magazine.
Yep.
And
This is one that Tracy of the Grocery Girls has knit twice and raved about the patterns.
It's a very easy pattern. It has small short rows in the back. It's supposed to have a provisional cast on
Folded collar.
I don't-
Yep.
That's
Yep.
too much effort
Yep.
for me.
Yep.
So I just made a regular old collar. But it is a Kumo, which is a lace weight Surrey alpaca, like a mohair, silk
Yep.
mohair, but
Yep.
it's Surrey alpaca.
Yep.
Held together with a fingering twist yarn of hers. I think it's called Twist Merino. So it's 2 strands held together. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So
This is
worked at like a
coquelicot.
DK weight?
Yeah, I
Is
think
that
I'm on a 9 needle.
No.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
really?
Yep. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think the ribbing was a 6
That
maybe.
would
and then
work
the
up
buttons a
really
9.
quick then.
Really fast, yeah.
Okay, don't you guys just love this tomato orange color?
Isn't it great? It's called Coquelicot.
I
and
was
it's
like,
La Bien-Aimée.
you know, I just had a birthday, Amy, so really nice of you to knit me a sweater in my color.
Oh, isn't it nice?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
it hasn't
really
been
nice.
blocked yet. The tails haven't been woven in, but it's beautiful. Yes, I love it. And I am making a second one out of a yarn that we do not carry that is also a tweedy color.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
hedgehog fibers.
Yeah, with
Tweedy?
where they collect fingerling weight scraps
Yeah.
from people,
Yeah.
and they chop them up in a thing, and they throw them in when they get spun at the mill.
Yeah.
Yep.
We do
And so
not carry it.
You get all the colors.
Yeah. So yarn store
it's
owners
available on,
do also buy things at other yarn stores for full price. Yes, we
yes,
do.
Yes.
So Emily has the purple colors. She's making Lento as well. Purple, our Emily, my employee Emily, our team member, and I'm doing this one. It's lovely. So I'm making
Yeah.
the second one. It's fun and fast.
Yeah, just top down raglan,
Yeah.
right? And so you can try it on as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do know that Tracy of the Grocery Girls, which is, their podcast is like 40,000 viewers, so lots of people will have seen it, has raved about just the fit. She
Yeah.
liked the fit. She liked the way it worked up. And so, but I hadn't seen one in person, so that's really nice.
Yeah. One arm looks longer than the other, but hey, it doesn't matter.
That'll probably block right out.
Doesn't
right?
matter.
No, right?
It may actually be too hot for me even to wear, so I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, I'm past that, but thank God I'm past that. I'm
Yeah, I
older
love it.
than
It's-
you,
it's
but
really
yes.
pretty.
Yeah, no, really pretty.
This Helix cardigan, and it's another La Bien-Aimée yarn, Merino DK. I have had it, it's been a couple years off the needles. It is not pilled, so I wear it all the time. I wear it twice a week. It has like the where my elbow is has gotten a little worn. It's like it looks a little whiter where my
Oh,
elbow is.
yeah, yep.
You can see it,
Yep,
really
yep.
clearly there.
But not as much as in person. Like,
Yeah,
that looks
that was
lighter.
more, yeah. But it has not pilled. Like there's no pilling under the
yeah,
arm or
'cause-
anything. I just can't. It's crazy. So it's a beautiful yarn. The fun part about this sweater is the raglan increase.
Okay, so we're going to
Yeah.
tip and look so you can point at
the
it.
raglan increase is a make 5. So you knit across and then you make 5 stitches and then knit across, make 5. So normally you would maybe knit front back, knit 1, slip, whatever. You make 5 stitches. It's maybe make 3, but you make 5 loops.
Okay, yep. And then
And-
you knit them.
Yep, and then you
And the
knit them the
next
next
time,
round.
yep.
So it just adds a pretty little detail that's not
Yeah.
a regular raglan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really pretty, mindless, easy.
And
every
it
other row.
starts way up at the neck,
It
really
does,
high,
yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, it's very pretty. So the only finishing really is the little button band, and
And so is that picked up after?
I did not. Yep, and I
Yep,
did
yep.
not opt to put buttons on them. I don't ever button a cardigan,
Yep,
so
no,
I didn't put buttonholes or buttons on it. But I love it. It's a very wearable color.
And is this the length that the sweater was meant to?
No, the sweater was shorter.
Okay,
I added length.
Okay, yep, that's just sometimes nice to.
Yes, and the Lento actually is longer than it's supposed to be too, because that is a really kind of shorty croppy.
Oh, okay.
And so I added a couple of
Yeah.
inches on the
Yeah.
Lento too. But yeah, this is a very wearable, easy.
Do you remember the colorway? This is really nice.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's probably called smoke.
Yeah.
Or
loam. Might be loam.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Maybe remembered.
Wow,
It
yeah.
might be loam. But yeah, it's very pretty. Merino DK. And I think a DK sweater is just like the perfect weight of sweater.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes, light and lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely better than worsted. I have a lot of worsted sweaters, but I do find them too warm.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
And one more thing about the Lento, they just did a make along or something. So on Instagram, there's lots of hashtags. Lento,
so you can
MAL
see
or
lots of
KAL.
people.
Lots of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And was that through LaBarre that did the Lento?
I
or
think
did the
through
Lento lady?
Lina and
They
LaBarre
together,
maybe?
okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you didn't have to use LaBarre. You
Right.
could use whatever yarn you
Right,
wanted.
yeah.
So there's lots
Okay.
of options to
Okay.
see. Okay, this shawl is Stephen West.
Okay.
Painting honeycomb shawl. Yes. And these are separate colors. It's not gradient. So these are each separate balls, the red, the orange, the it is so much fun to knit. It looks hard. It is
There's
like
the back.
so easy.
Because she's just striping across.
Yes.
And then the gray connects.
Yes, and it is so simple. Those are just slip stitches. It's just so easy.
I have done honeycomb, but I have not knit this.
Yeah, and he's got, of course, blankets, and he's got everything with this honeycomb. And he's got bigger honeycombs or little ones. I chose the little one. It was so fun to make. I loved it. And this is a cotton wool blend called United from Queensland, I think.
Yeah.
Queensland.
Is it a complete triangle? No, it has a bottom edge. So you're working
Same
this
shape,
way.
really, as the
Yeah.
other
yep,
one.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's just lovely.
Yeah, isn't it fun? And you could use mini skeins because it's a fingering. So you could do, if you have a bunch of mini skeins in your stash, you could do it, or a gradient
Man, I have
shawl.
2 shawls now I want to knit.
It's a fun one.
Really.
Yeah, it's really fun to make, and it's fun. Comes
This
together
is
quick,
nice.
and
This feels really
It does,
nice.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
And they're little
It has
balls.
a tooth, like a cotton, but I wouldn't have guessed cotton.
Yeah.
I don't know why it has
Yeah.
like a, I don't mean tooth like wool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's really
Yeah, it's nice,
nice
lightweight.
hand.
Mhm,
Yeah, it has a
mhm.
really nice hand and nice drape.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorites.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that's
really
a fun
cute.
one. Yep,
Okay.
fun one. Lots of options with that one. You could do it out of anything.
Excellent.
Okay, so
We have
yeah.
a lovely cowl here.
Yeah, so this is called the Versa Cowl. It is a beautiful entry into using 2 colors at one time. Or 2 colors in one project, I should say, because you're still only using 1 color at a time.
Right. I have beginners and advanced beginers who don't know how to change color to
Yeah.
make stripes.
Yeah,
Like
yep.
they're like, how would I put a stripe on?
Yeah, so this cowl is kind of short and, well, it's knit in the round. Yep, knit in the round. And you start here, and you start with 1 color, and you work a knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, drop that yarn, pick up the second yarn, and just knit. And then you drop that yarn, pick up the other one again, knit 1, purl 1. So you've made this kind of detail there. And then you swap the yarn. One is knit 1, purl 1. You just switch them. And then you switch them back. And then you just stripe the rest. And we call it Versa because you can wear it either way.
Yep.
It's very versatile.
Yep.
Yep, you can wear it in with the stripe out, or you can wear it open and tall.
Long. Yeah.
Yep. We knit ours originally out of Malabrigo Rios. It's a beautiful Malabrigo Rios project. There's a million color combinations. So we love that project. It's called the Versa Cowl. It is free on Ravelry.
And it's
Love
been
it.
very popular.
It's very popular. Yes, it's very easy. Lots of yarn stores have samples in their stores.
and kind of a turning row here.
Yep,
because
little
you've
turning
got
row. Yep.
Pearls. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
it kind of would fold for you nicely. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not too tight against your neck. It feels.
This is the gray one.
Yeah.
Gray with
Yep.
kind of dark gray with some color in it. Got
Yeah.
some blue and gold in it.
Yep. And then we also have a Versa Lite. So this is fingering.
Oh, this is Corey's colors.
And this is 5 mini skeins. Yeah.
I'll hold it here where you can.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a fun
really
one.
Cute. And you wrote this?
I did. Yeah.
I thought so, but
yeah, it's a good one.
I was going to let you
yeah.
toot your horn because you hadn't said.
Yes, it's a great pattern. It's very versatile again. This is a great one for mini skeins if you have them.
I do. A whole box full. Yeah. Of multi-packs.
Well, perfect. And we do have this exact kit in these colors in the shop on the website too. Lite. Yeah.
And this is Universal Yarns fingering?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So they're all made in fingering.
This one is. These are worsted.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we have worsted option in Malabrigo Rios, and then our fingering option is in Universal.
Yeah.
Lots of colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love it. It's a great little kind of mindless knitting to take on a trip or something else, or if you're a newer knitter, it's a great project.
Yeah. I love that.
The last one I have is called the Gresham wrap. It is Blue Sky Fibers.
I love this.
It's
every time I see it, I say,
I
need to make it.
Let's see where we're looking here, which side we're on. So it starts at the bottom. Michael at Blue Sky Fibers designed it. It starts at the bottom with kind of a broken rib, and then each section is a different texture and color, and then it has this giant section of broken rib all the way down. And then it ends the same way as it started. I knit this many years ago with white as the main color. That's what the photo is on the pattern, which is bright and beautiful. And it got stolen from the store off a mannequin. So I had to re-knit it, and I knit it in this color for the second time. But
have you tied everything
I've knit it twice.
On mannequins now?
No, I know.
Oh, I do.
I know.
When I send stuff to stores, I attach strings of yarn.
Yeah.
Say, tie it to a shelf, tie it to a mannequin to make it just a little bit harder.
It's a good idea.
No, I mean, I know you want to trust people, but losing samples for me is huge.
It's a bummer.
I had a shop employee sell one of my samples in the shop, and when I went in to pick up the samples, the person said, "Oh, I'm just so sorry," and she didn't offer to pay me for the sample or whatever, and so I was like, in the moment, I was just like, I can't believe that someone in your shop sold this. It had a tag on it that said "not for sale" on the back. Like, I had attached tags, right?
What?
And then I went home and I emailed her, and I'm like, I just need you to know that I need to replace this. I'm going to need you to pay, and if you sold it, you should have at least in the moment offered me the money that you sold it for, right? Like, but I was in such shock. And then she had a customer, and I was just like, okay, I'm going to back out. I'm just backing out.
Oh, my word.
And my card was on them, and they never called. And she's like, oh, yeah, this was quite a while ago. And I'm like, you call and tell someone, right?
Yeah, that's weird.
An employee screwed up. And the employee then needs to pay for it or whatever.
Yes.
But so now I'm very scared of losing samples.
I understand.
You're just nicer than me.
We have had a sweater stolen, too, but yes. It's just, again, this is
These colors are
not
awesome.
Super challenging project. It's fairly easy. We do sell it in a big bundle, so it's easy to access.
It's really drapey. It has really nice
and yet you can
drape.
kind of you get it all bundled up in there, and it's so warm and it's bright, and I just love it. This is wool stock, Blue Sky Fibers wool stock, which is 100% wool. But it's lovely and warm. And there's a lot of colors, so you don't have to use this color palette either if you don't want to. But these are full skeins.
But you could do a gradient of blues or a gradient of purples if that's what you love, or alternate just two colors. But
it's called the Gresham wrap, and it's just lovely and generous and beautiful.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Yeah, really
it's stunning. When you had it on a mannequin when I came in once, I was just like, wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I knit it twice.
yes, you have.
Yeah.
And not on purpose.
I know.
This is great.
Yeah, thank you.
This is awesome. I'm so thankful that you were willing.
Yeah.
I want everyone to come to Stillwater and meet and come to DarnKnit anyway. Plan a vacation, plan a trip. I do have people that come from all over the country, and that want to know where yarn stores are, right? And they've heard me talk about your shop, but it really is a beautiful river town where there are shops all the way up and down the main street. So you've got candy stores and bookstores and ice cream shops and a bakery and coffee shops and
clothing boutiques.
Yes. What else?
A lovely independent bookstore.
Yeah. Yes, and a couple of nice hotels, there are places to stay, and then sweater camp, which are you doing sweater camp again?
We are. It is January 31st, February 1st and 2nd. We release tickets in August sometime, but we're doing it again. Yeah.
Because afterwards every year, you look exhausted and say, this was so much fun, but so much work. I'm not sure we'll continue to do it.
Yeah.
And then you do it again.
I know.
And then we're
it's just
all
so fun.
It is so fun.
I know.
And
it's
it has
fun.
it's becoming an institution
Yeah.
where there's an expectation that it will never
Yeah.
go away, right? Like people are already planning and talking about it. And we met friends. I met Jenn and Karina, who has started the Knitting Up North podcast up in Bemidji. And they were coming to stay with me for Shepherd's Harvest after we went to dinner with them and met them at sweater camp, right? There are connections that are made, friendships that are made.
Yeah, and it's just such a comfortable, warm, casual, it's just such a lovely thing. There's no stress in it. It's just
for you,
us, but like for our people, it's just so nice.
For you, but it's so much work to put on an event that size.
It is a lot of work.
So much work,
it's
and
a lot of work.
I think people can show up and feel like it was effortless, and you want it to feel effortless, but I don't know that people realize how much time and energy it really does take to plan an event that large.
And
how many people can come? Like
200 in person, and then we had 4 virtually this year.
Yes.
Too,
so we should share that because there are people that can't afford to travel or don't want to travel to Minnesota in January.
And 200 people is a lot of peopling.
Right.
It's a lot of people in there. So if you're not really a people-y, you don't really want that.
There's room.
There
are
is,
tables of 8, and and you do have to sit with other people.
And you got to wait for food, and there's a lot of people there.
Yeah.
So 200 people is a lot of people, but we offer a virtual camp, so it's the same programming. So you hear the same speakers, and then you have extra things virtually. So we have extra speakers.
You have someone that's online
moderating
with
the
them
whole time.
That's kind of your hostess for the time. And
they get all the same swag and all the good stuff.
And at a discounted price. You're certainly not staying here, and you're not going out to dinner, and you're not paying for the whole event where you're eating lunch with,
you're not paying for the food. It is definitely less expensive, and it's just a fun way to be involved, and you learn so many things because we have farmers and yarn dyers and yarn makers and
speakers, and the concept of bringing them in, a lot of them in virtually, is just amazing. Just amazing.
Yeah, it's really fun. You may not. My hope is that you find somebody you didn't know before. We can all hear Andrea Maui.
I sat with Teresa of Get Bents, and Sam of Lavender Loon, and who designed the sweater, Brand Moody, and I'm trying to think, I'm going around my table. And those were people that I had never spent, I knew Sam fairly well because I've designed for her, but I had never spent like a period of time with her. Like we've Zoomed, but I had never sat, and just kind of chatted with these people. And Teresa just got in touch and she's like, are you going to be at Shepherd's Harvest? Right? Like, that was a connection I didn't have before.
Right.
And I told her, I said, I bought your yarn, I'm going to knit it up, and I want to design something with your yarn, your farm yarn, right?
Yeah.
And that is a connection I never would have made before. And that happened because of sweater camp.
Right. And we heard from Karen Skassel.
Yes.
She's Addie Needles. They own Addie Needles, and that was a fascinating story about how her mother brought the needles back from Germany. Like, just those are cool stories. I try to get like interesting people that you might not have easy access to see.
Yes, absolutely.
That's part of the fun of it. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
So really neat.
Yeah, we love it.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up. I will see everybody in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. You will have just seen my interview with Aimee of DarnKnit Anyway, and now I'm going to record my Patreon section of the podcast. So welcome. I am so thankful for each and every one of you. This whole journey of going to Patreon has just been amazing, and you have helped me so much to pay for my shipping, my purchasing of prizes, my Canva and Later app, which are a big monthly bill for me. Also, my MailChimp is a huge monthly bill. All those things cost me. Every month I have about $200 worth of bills just to put the podcast out, like just my apps and my website and those things. And it was just becoming so onerous if I didn't make that money back in teaching or in pattern fees. And so I am so thankful that all of you are willing to help me out and hang with me for that. We had an amazing Friday night knit night. There were quite a few of us online that chatted about knitting. I want to say hi to all of those people. So hello to Jenn of the Knitting Up North podcast. It was really nice to have you join me. She got on early, so we chatted for a couple of minutes. And then to Susan R., Christine C., Kris S., Joan, Trish, Megha, and Janet. So thank you so much for joining me. I think I might have missed a couple of names. I tried to write them down that night, but I wanted to thank those that came. We had a lovely book group discussion last month, and we have a new book coming up, and I want you all to read it so bad. So go right now, pause the podcast, go right now and order the book, Orbiting Jupiter. Even if you can't make book club, which is on June 5th at 7 p.m. It'll be 1 hour where we'll just discuss the book. It's by Gary D. Schmidt. The book costs $6.99 on Amazon if you cannot get it at your local library or on Libby. I did watch it on Libby, and I would assume it's available on Audible. I'll just check. So it is $6 on Audible, and if you are not an Audible member or never have been and want to listen to this book, like for your first time ever listening to an audiobook, it's $6 and you can just go over, but you could get it for free because they do a try us out one book for free. And that is my banana bread going off, so I should have checked that before. I'm having a wedding planner meeting in a couple of hours, and so I have to go take the banana bread out. I'll be right back. Okay, to be honest, I had kind of forgotten that I put it in the oven. Thank heavens for timers, right? Yeah, I set the timer on the stove, so I did put chocolate chips in one of the loaves. So that will be delicious for later. And then, of course, they'll come and probably no one will want a piece. And then I will snack on it for the rest of the day and tomorrow. No, I think Stevie and Kyla would take a loaf home. So, okay, where was I at? Orbiting Jupiter. Please join me. Then I also set up the next knit night for June 25th, Tuesday night at 7 p.m. If you need me to do it at 6:30, I could. If you're in a different time zone and the 7 p.m., I just need to kind of figure out this whole time zone around the world thing and what's the best time to have people jump on. And so I just thought I would try another evening, but a Tuesday instead of a Friday. So yeah, let me know about that. Okay, what am I wearing? This is my tea leaves cardigan. And to be honest, I don't wear it very much anymore. I used to wear it all the time. It is a 3/4 length sleeved, ruched, yoked sweater that was very popular back in the day. So you do increases and then you get this little bit of ruching in here. It's going to be really hard to see. Let me see how close I can get it. Can you kind of see how it increases? And this part is all puckered in between here. It's really kind of fun. It's kind of a fun. I had this dragonfly fibers all over, variegated. Now can I get my sweater back on quite right? I don't like to be off kilter. I try to make the podcast even too. I had this all over variegated yarn, and so it needed to have like kind of a plain. It's a 3-button cardigan and fingering weight. So yeah, kind of nice for this time of year. I'm warm. I have a long sleeve t-shirt on, but I didn't have a good match for a short sleeved t-shirt. So I went with my long sleeved, but I have a pretty big announcement to make. I'm super excited to announce that the Madison, Wisconsin Knitters Guild has chosen my Pretty Boxes sweater as their Rhinebeck sweater for this year. So the Madison Knitters Guild is taking a bus to Rhinebeck, And we considered going on the bus, but one of our members can't get that much time off work, and one of the people in our group that wants to go, that we want to go with, and we want to go to the events on Friday, and I don't think the guild is going to the events on Friday, so we are going to fly out and rent a car. But the bus trip would be brilliant because they have planned the entire trip. They're staying at a hotel in Kingston. The bus will bring you over to the event and back each day. I love the energy of Rhinebeck. I know it's overwhelming for a lot of people on Saturday, but if you just sit on Saturday and watch the sweaters go by and wait until later in the day, and Sunday it is much calmer and much quieter and not so congested in the big barns that everybody's kind of pushing their way into. It's just a lovely event. So get yourself some apple cider donuts on Saturday and just sit and literally watch 20,000 people and all their hand knit items, because it's just amazing. And go to the animal barns. They're not quite as busy. And some of the open air barns are not quite as busy as the white buildings. That's my tip. Yeah, so they picked pretty boxes, and so the whole busload of people have the option of knitting it. I cannot wait to see all the colorways they pick, and because I'm going this year, I'm going to be able to have a picture taken with them, and it just, like, what do they say? My heart grew 14 sizes or whatever. Oh my goodness. Yeah, to have that many people knit your sweater and then to have it be available, like people will see it at Rhinebeck. Oh, I'm so tickled. But yeah, I think they have some spots left if you live in the upper Midwest and you wanted to go on the bus, or you and a friend wanted to take the bus and not have to fly out. I think there are 4 or 5 of us going with my group, and so we're going to get an Airbnb, and we've been a number of times, so we kind of know how to navigate the whole thing. But yeah, it's going to be, I don't know, I've been selling the pattern like crazy. I did give the guild a discount code for the pattern because I was so tickled, and that is people that would not have bought my pattern otherwise, right? Like they wouldn't just all randomly have bought my pattern, so I could discount it, and it was almost like a bulk order, which I discount bulk orders for yarn stores. So if a yarn store has a knit along, I will give them a pretty significant discount for my pattern if they're using it. So yeah, I'm so excited. Like my testers, it was so exciting when the testers came in with all their colorways, because there are some beautiful ones out there, and I had so many testers. But yeah, to have this happen, it's just such a boost to my design, because I can get really like, well, I don't sell a lot of patterns and it's a lot of work, and you got to sell a lot of $7 or $8 patterns to make any, get your money back for your photography and your tech editing. And so just to have this happen, I am so thrilled. So if you are a new Madison Knitter Guild person watching the podcast, thank you so much. Oh, what have I finished? I finished a couple of things. I have a couple of things. So let me show you my Snowbird hat. I finished my Snowbird hat. Isn't it pretty? Look at that stitch pattern. Oh my goodness. Now the yarn I used is Get Bent's Farm, and that's Teresa. And Teresa has her own mill near Northfield, Minnesota. And the yarn is pretty rustic. It has been spun at her mill. And so there are quite a few thick and thin spots of the yarn, right? Like it's pretty rustic. So the structure or the texture of the hat is not always super consistent. Now, the pattern called for a bind off that I don't do, a cast on that I don't do all the time. And I did it wrong, like really wrong. I think it's Italian cast on, and I didn't know I did it wrong, but I got, here, let me turn it upside down so you can really see. I got this really interesting picot edge. I'm not sure what I did, but I got up into the ribbing and I was like, that is not the Italian cast on that I've done before. What did I do wrong? And so, anyway, I liked it. and now I can't replicate it. But I thought it was kind of pretty, right? It's just got this really kind of interesting picot cast on all the way around it. And so this is a cabled pattern where you're cabling stitches 2 over 1 to the right and the left on one row all the way around. And then the next rows are fairly simple, but that one row is kind of slow going. The top is super pretty. So it wasn't the fastest hat I ever knit. It was kind of my purse knitting. And once I did the cast on incorrectly and didn't notice, I kind of stopped after I had about an inch in and put it in a bag. And I was like, oh, you should probably rip that out and start over. And then I just decided, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it. And so I did. And I saw Teresa at Shepherd's Harvest this weekend and I showed her. I wasn't quite done, but I said, look, I did the cast on wrong. So this is a pattern by Alla Hale that she did out of Teresa's yarn. So you could use any fingering weight yarn for that hat or even a sport weight. It's a pretty fluffy yarn. It bloomed quite a bit, but it was lovely to knit, and I'm super happy. And then I finished my vest. This is my Brioche Slipover by Mini Me Knits. So yes, this is all one color brioche, and it's knit out of a chunky weight yarn, so super bulky. She used the same yarn. I ordered the yarn that she used in the pattern. So it's this Lane du Nord Firenze, and it is kind of a blown yarn, so it's super lightweight. It's quite drapey and brioche all over. So it has an interesting construction. You start up at the neck, and it is for beginners. So she says that in the pattern. It has unique characteristics of different stitches to shape the shoulders without the use of short rows. The pattern makes no assumption that you know how to do brioche stitch and is perfect for those who want to try it for the first time. Photos and video tutorials are provided in the pattern. It's worked seamlessly from the top down, and you can easily lengthen it if you like. It is multiple sizes, from 30 inches to 66 inches, and uses US 10 and 13 knitting needles. So it worked up really quickly. It's super cute on her, but you can see where the shoulders hang off the edges quite a bit, right? It's a very boxy shoulder build. And when I got mine done, I didn't mind it, but I thought there's something I can do to make that not quite so boxy. I'm looking at it right here. So this is what I did. I took a piece of yarn and just inserted it under the purl bumps and then went back, and then I cinched it up so that it puckered in a little bit and pulled that. Can you see how it's pulling that in a little bit? So it's not quite so wide on my shoulders. From the front, it still looks, but they don't stick out. They kind of fold in right there. So it was kind of a nice fix. I'm not really sure it was necessary. It does have a folded crew neck. It's just a really lovely little sweater. I just wore it last week. We had a cold, rainy day, and I found I had this red and white striped shirt, which I think really elevates it. But I also think it would be really fun to wear over a dress in the fall and in the early spring, because it is kind of cropped. Like, I made it a little bit longer. I only had enough yarn to make it this long. I certainly could have gotten another skein and made it longer. But I did stretch it a little in blocking, and it hits me at a pretty good spot. I did pull it down a little bit when I was wearing it and was thinking, oh, you should have made it another inch longer. But see, I could pin it and block it longer. You know how you're in a hurry and you just want to wear it, and so you just lay it on the floor and you kind of stretch a little bit and then you wear it the next day. And that's what I did. So I didn't measure like how long I might like it. So if I would wet it, I could definitely get another inch or two out of it. So yeah, so the beginner brioche slipover by Mini Me Knits is done, and I think I'll make another one. I love brioche. I really like the brioche stitch, and it's a vertical kind of stripe that kind of happens in there, and I would like to do it in 2 colors. I'd like to do it so that it's striped in 2 colors. I think that that would be pretty easy to do. Maybe not on the shoulders where she has that shaping, but the shaping wasn't hard. You just knit more of the back across before you dropped over to the front. So simple, no sleeves, quick, easy. Hey, I have a little Corey story. We went to Shepherd's Harvest. So I invited, as per usual, everyone to come in on Friday afternoon to my house and knit for the day. And then we usually go over to Shepherd's Harvest on Saturday and Sunday. And so I had, I think, 9 people that were coming over on Friday. And then we went out to, we knit all afternoon. I think Bonnie showed up at noon, and Matt was here with Janet and by 1, and then Mary came after school. She teaches right out by me. And so, yeah. And then Tiffany joined us at supper because she worked all afternoon. And who else was here? Who was sitting on the couch? Oh, Renee came out. Yeah, and then we went out to dinner right here in town. And then we came back, and we were all sitting in the family room knitting away. And Matt kind of got up and walked toward the front door, and in walked Amber. Unbeknownst to me or anybody else except Matt. He's in trouble with me. Just kidding. She said, "You got room for one more?" I was just shocked and so happy. I ran. I could have jumped into her arms. We haven't seen Amber. I haven't seen her for 2 years. And she and I used to sit on Zoom, which you know, or Facebook, for 2 or 3 hours a week and just knit together and talk about everything under the sun. And during that time, we became really good, close friends. And then COVID happened, and they built this new building, and her life changed drastically, not in a bad way, but she used to work in a smaller building in town doing print on demand orders with 3 employees. And she did the payroll, and, you know, she could come and go. And we traveled together a lot, and you know, she would come up here, and, you know, she surprised me on my 60th birthday, and just walked in. So why I wouldn't think that that could have happened again, is she even took an Uber from the airport, which is 24 miles away, because she didn't want anyone to come get her. I mean, she wanted it to really be a surprise. But she had got in touch with Matt because he lives over by the airport, and so she wanted to make sure that he could give her a ride back on Sunday and that someone would know she was coming. And her flight got delayed, so she would have been here earlier. She would have gone to supper with us, but her flight got delayed. And it's like a 2-hour trip for her to the airport, and then it's another couple of hours in the plane, and, you know, a couple of hours waiting, and then going back home. And so she was here for like 40 hours. Like, it was the quickest trip, and such a gift to all of us who know her and just wanted to spend time with her and hadn't seen her in so long. I had really missed her. They built a whole new plant, a whole new second building. So she has just been, like, they don't sleep. So there was no blame on our end, right? Like, we knew that this was happening, and that, you know, she was gonna, one of the reasons that they built the building, because she said, "I'll run this side." But for her to take time away on a weekend to run up here, because they usually work on the weekends, let's be honest, it was just such a gift, and I should just shut up about it. But we laughed, and we talked, and we caught up, and everyone was shocked on Saturday who saw us, because they were like, Amber. No one had expected her to come. No one thought she was going to be there. And then on Saturday night, so we shopped then Saturday morning, the bad thing happened. We went to get coffee for Bonnie and Matt at Starbucks on our way to Shepherd's Harvest on Saturday morning. And then Amber and I went over through the McDonald's drive-thru to get Diet Coke. And then we came back across the street because they're right across the street from each other. And Matt and Bonnie came out. And as they came out of the building, they both said something to each other about the lids not fitting very well on the cups. And Matt got in the car and his entire cup just exploded all over his hand and his leg and all over the back of my car, which is no big deal, but he burnt his hand so badly. And he just screamed in pain and opened the door, jumped out of the door. Bonnie ran around to the other side. Amber got out. I'm holding Diet Coke and I'm throwing napkins back to Amber, and they go into the store to go to the bathroom to try to find cold water. And we start cleaning it up, and Amber says, "Can I use Chevy's towel?" And I said, "Absolutely." So we have a towel over our back seat because Chevy will sit with his head when he rides back there. And so she grabbed Chevy's towel that was hanging over the back seat and threw it on the floor and went to push her hands on it and almost burnt herself. She's like, "That is still super hot." So it was boiling hot water. It was like an Americano. Like, I'm not a coffee person, which I think you pour burning water over espresso or something. Anyway, the whole cup had dumped. They stayed in the store for a while. We were cleaning up. We threw, the towel and the napkins away. It only really hit like the plastic and like leather part of my car. It didn't was no problem, but he felt bad that it spilled, but he was in so much pain. And then we're thinking we are going to have to go to the ER because it does start to blister, right? Like, he gets up in here and all the way around here. He said his leg wasn't bad. He did have shorts on. It was a beautiful day on Saturday. It was going to get warm, like up to 75 and close to 80 on Sunday. So he had shorts on and his hand knit socks. He came back out to the car and they gave him ice in a glove, 2 bags of ice in a glove, and burn cream. And they had been rude when Bonnie and Matt went in because they said to them as they come in, "We are not taking in-person orders. Go through the drive-through or get on the app." And they were like, "Well, we're not from here. We didn't know that," right? So they have to put the app on and get online. And they said that they were just kind of rude. Well, then when they went back in, they really couldn't get help right away. They finally went in the back and got someone who came out. And then the one employee said, "This is a known problem with our cups." And also said that they'd already had 3 people that had been burned. So Matt was so mad because he didn't even refund his money. He spilled his coffee all over. And they're like, "You're going to have to call the manager tomorrow." So he gets the ice on, and Bonnie's a hand therapist, right? She's not an occupational therapist. She's been on the podcast. And she's like, "Okay, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off. We don't want to burn it with the ice, right? We have to be careful." And then they put the cream on. And by the time we got over there, Mary's daughter, Bridget, was coming with us. And she's an ER nurse. And she works in the ER and triages patients all the time. So she said, "Send me a picture. And then when you get here, I'll look at it." So she looked at it and she said, "Nope, you've done everything that they would have done at the ER, right? There's no reason to go to the ER and bandage it." And Bonnie made sure Matt took some pain relief. He can't take ibuprofen or something, so they gave him whatever he had. So he took those and he walked around all day just doing this because the skin got so tight and started to blister. It was just a miserable way to start our morning for him. I mean, we all just felt so bad. And we said, we don't care. We'll go to the ER. This is not important that we go to Shepherd's Harvest, but he kept insisting that he was fine. They really have not done anything to help him. On Saturday, he called the manager and she said, "No, I can't refund your money or do anything." And of course, that's going to be the corporate line, but he called corporate on Sunday as well. He got that number and filed an incident report, and they said they'd get back to him. So it was just not a great way to start the day. But we went, and then we shopped all day, and everybody bought stuff, and it was just a beautiful day. They've added 2 barns to the venue. I didn't go over to the animal barns, but we did sit and watch sheep shearing while we ate our lunch. There were more food trucks. There were a couple of extra food trucks this year, but the one that's always so busy is the Euro guys, lady and man and lady who run that booth. They work so hard. They grill, you know, peppers and onions, and then they have pitas, and they have chicken and lamb, I think, and then I always get chicken. It's so good. You can have it on lettuce on a plate or in a pita, and then they have the tzatziki sauce, and it's just delicious. And that line is always super long. And then there's a fried ice cream, fried apple pie with cinnamon ice cream line. Oh, nobody else ate that with me except me. Nobody else wanted ice cream later in the day. They were looking at kettle corn and fudge, and it was just lovely. Then we went out to dinner in Stillwater. So we went to the yarn store and we sat and knit for a while, and I picked up some yarn I had ordered a month or so back. Then we went out to dinner with Steve and Andy of Leading Men Fiber Arts. And so we told them, you know, we know that you work all day, you guys get super tired. So they went back to the hotel and laid down, and then they said they almost didn't come because they didn't want to get up. But they came, and we had, we ate at the Lolo Cantina, which we've eaten at before. It's very good. They have, what were people drinking? Spicy margaritas. And yeah, so we had dinner with them and sat until, oh gosh, I don't know, 9 o'clock maybe, probably. So then we drove back here, and we all stayed up till midnight, but everybody was pretty tired. People were kind of falling asleep. So Amber and Matt and Bonnie all stayed with me. Everybody else went home and then met us over there on Saturday. So Mary and Bridget met us, and Renee and her mom came up. So, and her mom's a knitter. So they met us over there on Saturday. But then on Sunday, we just decided not to go back because Amber had to be back to leave my house by 12:15. And then Bonnie was driving to North Dakota to see her mom for Mother's Day. So then I was sitting there and I was like, Ross is fishing. Kylie's at the National Speech Tournament. I'm here. Chevy's already at daycare overnight. He stayed overnight on Saturday night because we wouldn't have gotten back in time to pick him up. So I was like, I could drive and see my mom. Like, I could call the boarding and just say, can I drop off more food? It's, I don't know, 2 miles from my house. And then I could go surprise my mom. So that's what I did. I really didn't want to drive 3.5 hours by myself in the car, but I had a good book on tape. And I was like, you know what? Amber surprised you, and it made your weekend different and more fun and exciting. And so go surprise your mom. So I didn't call and tell them I was coming. I knew they were home. I texted my sister-in-law because I knew that my brother and she would have them over either for brunch or dinner, I figured. And yes, they were having them for dinner. So she said, come, we are ordering Olive Garden because I'm not cooking, and I didn't blame her. And she said, yeah, come, it'll be so much fun. And I have not met my nephew and his wife's newest baby from September that I knit for, because I did not see them at Christmas because they weren't feeling well or something. I can't remember, but I didn't get a chance to see them. So the baby's 8 months old and I hadn't seen him yet. And so that's my brother's son. So I knew that they would be there. So I texted them and said, hey, I'm coming to surprise mom. And I got to my house about 5 o'clock, and they were supposed to go over at 6. And I didn't think they were there. The house was so dark, and the garage door was locked. And I thought, well, maybe they already left. I'll just go around to the back. There's a service door by their laundry room, which is usually unlocked. I thought I can just take my suitcase in, and then I'll go over to Jenny's and surprise them over there. And I went in their back laundry room door. which is off the family room and kitchen. And they were there in the family room. And my dad said, "Who's coming in?" And I said, "It's me, surprise." And it was dark in there. My mom was napping on the couch. My dad was reading on his Kindle. So they had the lights off, which is why it did not look like anyone was home from the front window, which I didn't really peek in. I just kind of looked. I thought, it's dark. And so I went over to the couch and I said, "Mom," and I think she thought she was dreaming, and she kind of looked at me and she was like, "Corey?" Like, and I said, "Mom, surprise, it's Corey." And my dad said, "Oh, she sleeps so hard when she naps. It'll take her a minute to wake up." And it did. She kind of sat up and she looked at me like, "What are you doing here?" So it wasn't the surprise I had planned. It was more of a fear thing. But then I just stayed until Tuesday. I had a lovely time at my brother's. They had a lovely dinner. And then I called my other brother on Monday and said, "Hey, is there any chance you guys can go to dinner?" And so he and his wife came and met me. You know, it's when it's last minute like that and you just decide to show up. It's not like everybody can, drop their plans, but they met us at Panera for dinner. So I got to see my brother Jeff, who watches the podcast, and his wife Sherry. My brother goes over and mows for my parents, and by the way, Jeff, there is a branch on the back of the house on the roof off the porch, and you need to take it down because I'm afraid Dad will try to get up there on the roof on a ladder. And I've forgotten to tell you that. I will text you. I'm afraid my dad will just say, "Well, I can get on the ladder and grab that." And he'll be 90 in September. He should not be on a ladder. So my brother or one of his sons, he has young sons, they could scramble right up there. It's not very far up, but it's a big branch. Anyway, so yeah, I stayed till I took my mom to Dillard's and we went to lunch with my dad. And so that was lovely. I took my mom out to Dillard's and we walked through the store and she picked up the makeup she needed. She had a little bag of things that she needed to get. Yeah. And then we watched a movie on Monday night. And then on Tuesday morning, I got up and drove home, and I got home about an hour after my husband. So it turned out to be, I could have stayed home Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and worked straight through because I have so much design work to do, which that will get us into the next thing. But I was really glad I went. So yeah, then Mom was really surprised. But yeah, let's talk about what I'm designing. So I have yarn from Vloedman Fiber Arts right now for a sweater for the fall, and it's beautiful. And I'm so excited. So I have 10 colors. I'm going to do 2 options for the sweater. So we have 2 different colorways going on. So obviously if I have 5 colors for each sweater, it's probably going to be color. So that's exciting. And then I got yarn from Brooklyn Tweed. So I reached out because they have a designer support yarn comment on their blog, and I thought, what have I got to lose? I have this hat design that I want to make. And they were like, absolutely, send us a proposal, and I have a color work hat that I want to do for this fall. And they sent me yarn, and I thought that there was no chance that was happening. But that was great. And then I have some felted patterns that I am re-releasing from back in the day. And I know felting is not all that popular right now, but my patterns are better now than they were 20 years ago, right? I write better patterns, I write checklist patterns, and I just decided that for the 3 most popular, well, they weren't even popular, but you know what I mean, the things that I think people might be interested, my watermelon bag, my pumpkin bag, and my felted backpack, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna rewrite those and take new pictures. And so I needed yarn support. And so I had a bunch of Cascade 220. So I did a watermelon bag in Cascade. And then I thought, just ask for yarn support. And they were like, sure, how much do you need? So they sent yarn for the pumpkin bag. But I need a couple of test knitters for these felted bags. And so if I had 2 people do the watermelon bag, but I would like another tester to do the watermelon bag. It's so cute. It is so cute. It's one of my favorite bags that I've ever felted of all time. It makes a super great project bag to carry yarn in and stuff. And I get comments on it all the time. It has little tiny watermelon seeds that you can get on Etsy that you sew around the top in the red. It's really cute. And then the pumpkin bag, I have yarn for that. So I have a sample knitter, but I haven't asked her to do it. So if someone wants to sample knit, meaning I'll send you the yarn, you knit the pattern and send it back to me. Or if someone is interested in knitting the pumpkin bag for fall, for themselves or as a gift to someone. And then the felted backpack, which is kind of a small backpack. And I designed it for Kylie when she was little, and I put fun fur on it, and she carried it to school, and all the little girls were jealous and they all wanted one. So now I've knitted up without the fun fur. I had it sample knit without the fun fur, but I would like a couple people to knit that for me as a test knit, just to double check the pattern. I mean, the pattern's been out there for 20 years, but yeah, so it's wool. You just have to use wool, cascade, whatever you have. It can be striped or plain. You just basically knit a big bucket with straps and a flap for the backpack, and it's big yarn, bigger needles. You know, it's worsted weight, but you can use a big needle because you want it to be airy so that it felts well. So yeah, if you're interested in doing that, will you send me an email at irackknits@gmail.com? Because I put a call out on Instagram and I only had, Jessica was the only one that really answered. So yeah, I need a couple sample knitters for those felted bags. And then I will need test knitters for the sweater in about a month. I'm hoping to knit it. We're going to the lake. We're going fishing, which I say we're going knitting. We're leaving on Thursday, and I'm hoping to knit that sweater. I've written most of the pattern up. So then I'll have to have it tech edited, but in about a month I'll need that. And then the hat, I'll need that. Oh, and then I have a cowl. I got yarn from Cascade for a cowl too. Oh, I have so much design work to do. I have a huge pile of stuff ready to go to the lake, and I'm gonna be gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I think I'm gonna get 47 projects done. It isn't gonna happen. Oh dear. But anyway, so I got to get that all going. Let me show you the two things that I'm going to show that I got at Shepherd's Harvest. Look at this. This is my new project bag. Do you remember I bought an orange one last year with white flowers on it? And that one has a project that has been hanging on my tree in it that I'm not working on, and I didn't forget, but I haven't been carrying it. And then I walked into the same booth this year. Look at these. This is like fingering weight yarn, and this is all rug punched, needle punched on here by hand in Florida. And look at the bottom. It is so cute. Oh my goodness. And they're one of a kind. Like, they only have one of each one. And so I couldn't wait and not get it. Like, I couldn't come back for it later. And as soon as I bought it, people were like, oh my gosh, that's so cute, you know? And I was like, she has a bunch, but none other ones with the cute llama or alpaca, depending. So I'm going to put a project in this now and carry it I'm really excited. Then I did buy a few skeins of yarn. I posted on Instagram. They were all the same colors this year: yellow, raspberry, red, and orange. I bought that at Teresa Get Ben's Farms booth because I'm going to do a hat design with her yarn, and at sweater camp I bought a couple colors, but then I wanted some more, so I bought more colors, a couple more colors, and it was the yellow, orange, red, raspberry. And then I went in a booth and they had this bag. Nothing haunts you like the yarn you didn't buy, and it's fangirlfibers.com. And this is like a iridescent little shopping bag. Like, it's so cute. Look at those handles. So cute. And I was like, how much is the bag? And the guy's like, $15 or free with purchase. And I was like, oh, well, and all of us had walked into this booth, and I thought, oh, well, I want that bag, right? That is so cute. Like, I need another bag. And so I bought like $80 worth of yarn to get the free bag. Instead of just buying the bag, I was like, well, I better buy yarn, right? You can't just buy the bag. That's kind of rude. So I bought 3 skeins of, and they were colors that I loved, DK weight colors that I absolutely love, yellow with orange and pink dots and pink and orange. But the bag cost me $80. Just really, it's so cute. And it, you're in the mode. You're like, oh, this makes me happy. I'm with my friends and I'm shopping for yarn and I'm touching yarn and I bought a new bag that I just love. And yeah, so that's what I bought. I bought that yarn, and then I bought the same color from Teresa. And then I think I bought, then another Corey story. We were kind of done for the day. We were in one of the last barns, and I walked by a booth and it said Brandon, South Dakota. And I was like, Brandon? That's right outside Sioux Falls and on my parents' side of town. Like, it's right there. We have family. My sister-in-law's sister lives there. And it's not quite attached to Sioux Falls yet, but it will be. It's kind of like Victoria to the Twin Cities. And I was like, you have a yarn mill? And they're like, yep. And I said, where did you get it? Right? And they're like, Facebook Marketplace. So then I walked over and I met these 2 gals. So it was called Maker's Way Fiber Mill. And they had a lot of information about their mill. And they've only been in business for a couple years. It was super nice. I had kind of looked at their yarn, gone to another booth, and then saw the sign in the back, which was super interesting. This is the yarn mini skein set I bought from her. It's called Dahlia. And then they had one that was called the Lilac. I love lilacs. And right now in Minnesota, they are blooming everywhere. That dark and light purple and then the white lilacs. Oh, because the little buds are, color, and then they burst. Oh, so pretty. So that's a kettle dyed set. And then they have mini skeins and then ultra mini skeins, so small and larger. And I wanted to, support this yarn mill from my hometown state. And so I asked her if she'd come on the podcast, and she's like, sure. And so, yeah, she and her sister and her mom run the mill, but I think it will just be fascinating to hear about the story of how they got the mill and how they decided to run it as a family. So I will be having her on the podcast this summer. Super excited about that. But yeah, we could go check out makerswayfibermill.com. They have a website and all their information about their roving and their spinning stuff. Yeah, it's just small world, right? You just are so surprised. I have a tip or trick to share this week. There is a new knitting calculator out there, and it is called the Long Tail Cast On Calculator. And it is on the Purl Together website. And you can go over to that website and sign up for her newsletter, and then she'll send you a link to the calculator. And you put in the size of needle you're going to use, how many stitches you need to cast on, and it will tell you how many inches of long tail you need to leave. Is that not amazing? Like, I put in size 8 and like 200 stitches or something, and it told me I needed 73 inches. You can get it in inches or centimeters. It's brilliant. It's a new calculator. It just came out not that long ago. But yeah, her website is purltogether.com and then /on IT-calculator / or IT calculator or something. I don't know what that stands for. IT, small, lowercase. So neat. I was just so impressed. You know, when you get to that point where you have to cast on a bunch of stitches, it's really hard to know. I'm pretty good at casting on for smaller amounts like a hat and things like that. I have my little rule of thumb where if I take my yarn from here to here, that's about 25 stitches for me, especially like in worsted weight, and I can go 25, 50, 75, 100, pinch to grow an inch. And then I'm pretty good. But in longer amounts, like when I have to cast on for a bottom up sweater or a shawl, or, you know, or if you're just bad at calculating, you could use this every time you cast it on, and it's free, completely free. So that's pretty neat. Okay. And then another thing that I saw out on the internet that I want to share with all you is this 2 tote bags on Amazon. One is alpacas and one is llamas, and they are so cute. So if you're looking for like a shoulder bag that makes a little bit of a statement, or a project bag, they are Senya red roses and hummingbirds shoulder bags. And then there are, I don't even know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different bags with different things on them. So there are dinosaurs and sharks and dragonflies and frogs and sloths. Yeah. And so if you have like a cute thing that you really like, these bags are so cute. I did not buy one. I had just bought bags, but really cute. So I will have the link in the show notes over on Ravelry, and in the down below in the underneath the video. But yeah, you can go and take a look at those. They run about $22, something like that. What have I been watching? So Mom and Dad and I watched Ordinary Angels. It's about a little girl who needs a liver transplant. It's based on a true story. It was on Netflix, and it's this hairdresser woman in town who's had kind of a rough life. She's kind of a big drinker, and she decides to get on board to help this young girl whose mother has passed away get a liver. And it, you know, it's heartwarming, it's sad, it's funny. I highly recommend. Mom and Dad and I just loved it. Then I've been watching the podcast Emma in the Moment, and I was talking to Janet about it when she was over on Friday. I had sent her the link maybe a week ago because we were talking about the big kerfuffle at Rhinebeck with the woolen folk disaster. But Emma in the Moment does all controversial topics in the craft community. So she just put out a whole, it's like a mini documentary. She's very, very investigative, and she is a crocheter, and it's just very interesting. She'll put an opinion in, but she tells you it's her opinion. It's called Emma in the Moment. I've talked about it before, but if you haven't not gone over, there's a bunch of stuff that goes on in the crafting industry that is kind of good to know about. And then the Joann Fabrics, debacle of them. Are they going to actually go out of business? How many times can you file bankruptcy? And she does a whole history of Joann Fabrics, and it's really, really good and very interesting. So we were talking about it, and I said, well, then I'll mention it again on the podcast, because then someone else said, what are you guys talking about? And so then we looked it up, and I showed everybody what it was, so people could tag it and kind of remember to go over and watch, because she does a really nice job of talking about things that are going on in the industry: crochet, knitting, sewing, all the things. Then I've been watching So You Think You Can Dance. I have not seen the final who won, but I will watch that. They've really changed it. It's not as fun. It doesn't go on for as long. They only start with 10. They used to start with 20 dancers. They don't have an audience vote anymore. The judges vote. I think they got a lot of pushback on people not being, it's called America's Favorite Dancer. They don't call it that anymore, but it really was everybody's favorite and not necessarily the best dancer, right? And so there would be a lot of pushback because there would be better dancers, technical dancers that would go home. And then people's popular dancers, which is a big deal too, right, would stay. And so now they've kind of changed it. They have 3 new judges this year, and so I've been watching that. Then I watched the downfall of Diddy on Tubi. It came up as suggested for me, and that is P. Diddy, the rapper, who is now under investigation and in trouble for sex trafficking and guns and drugs, and whether or not he has enough money to get off of all these. Several of his people have been arrested, but he has gotten off so far. It was very interesting. So it was on Tubi. That's that new free channel where you can watch. Well, I don't know how new it is. New to me, a free channel where you can watch, and then it has commercials that you can't skip through. But it was maybe an hour, so it was good. I like to learn about stuff. I finished watching 5 seasons of The Resident, and it didn't get picked up for another season, so I was kind of over it too. So I think it had kind of run its course. By the end of the 5th season, I was like, okay, same people, a lot of the same people. It's so shocking to me that Grey's Anatomy can still be on after 20 years, right? And she's still the same main character. Then I watched 1 episode of Farmhouse Fixer that came recommended to me. I can't find it for free, and I don't want to pay for it, but I watched 1 episode on YouTube. And so maybe the rest of it will come out on YouTube, and then I can watch some more of those. But that comes from HGTV, I think. And I think there are 3 seasons of that where they go and fix up farmhouses and barns. And then I started watching Jenna Phipps. She's a knitter who was really big on YouTube and had thousands and thousands of followers, like 200,000, 300,000, something like that. And now she bought a house in Vancouver that is falling down, but it was a mansion back in the day, and it looks out over the water, and she is a young person who is redoing this whole house with her boyfriend and the help of her parents a little bit. So she bought this literally falling down house full of water and mold, but it has a beautiful pool and giant evergreen trees. It's probably, I don't know, just from what I've seen so far, maybe a couple of miles from the ocean, the water. But she's up on a mountainside and with a bunch of other beautiful houses around her, and hers is the falling down one. It's really good. I don't know enough about where she came from as a knitter and like how she got so popular, because she sews too. And I started watching the house part because I like house shows like that. But now come to find out, she really built most of her audience earlier on. Now she has like 900,000 followers or something. So she's a full-time YouTube influencer, and she's doing this house as part of her content. So I would recommend it. It's called Jenna Phipps. And I'm going to go back and watch some of the knitting ones now. What have I been reading? And then we'll be about done. We read The Quarry Girls by Jess Lowry for book club this month, and it is scary. It is set in St. Cloud, Minnesota, which is about an hour northwest of the Twin Cities. And in St. Cloud, there was a car factory, and the man who built the factory in the 1920s, I think maybe I even talked about this. Sounds familiar that I'm talking about it, but maybe it's because I went to book club. Well, I'm going to tell you quick anyway. They built homes, and they built tunnels underneath the homes so that the workers, the men who worked in the factory would not have to go outside. They could just go down underneath their houses and walk to the factory. True story. And so there is this whole community in St. Cloud now, 70 years later, and the tunnels have been walled off now. But they're telling this story in the 70s where these girls go missing and they play as children in these tunnels underneath these houses, and it's very scary. And so it's a murder mystery, figure out who done it. Very well done, Minnesota author, which is why we read her. Then I read Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. It's so good. It is so good. You guys have to go read her. She owns Nadia Cakes in the Twin Cities. I've read her before, and she won Cupcake Award, and then she became a romance writer. But there is no smut in her romance. Like, they kiss and it's the end of the chapter, right? They start to maybe hug and maybe start to make love, and then it's the end of the chapter, right? Like, so their spice level is like a 1 on a scale of maybe 1 to 10, maybe a 2, right? Like, so it's not like the spiciness of some romance, but the character development is excellent. They're funny. She's very, very clever. So highly recommend all of her books. This is her newest one. I couldn't wait to read it, and I read it in like no time. Then I read Mrs. Nash's Ashes by Sarah Adler. So good. So good. This girl is in a relationship and it's not going well. So she moves out of her apartment across the hall to this old lady's apartment where, this woman needs some help getting, taken care of. They were friends. And then Mrs. Nash passes away, and, she's going to take her ashes to Florida. There is a reason. And then the flight gets delayed, and so she has to drive, and there are no rental cars, so she's gonna ride with this guy from the rental car place, and then this other guy comes over and says, I don't want you to not be safe, and she kind of knew this guy. Anyway, it's so good. It's their whole journey to Florida and what happens, and there are a couple of quotes from that book that were so funny that in the moment, and I don't know that I'll be able to do them justice, but I'm going to try. Okay, so they're talking in the car, and she's talking about Trader Joe's, and the guy says to her, nothing like a grocery store that you have to go to another grocery store right after. And I thought, that is so true about Trader Joe's in Minnesota, right? Like, they have a bunch of things you need and want to buy, and they're the only people that have them, but they don't have everything you need, so you have to then go to another grocery store to get the rest of your stuff. So funny. I mean, it just hit me. It was right on. And then she's talking to this guy, and he is angry, mad, not ever going to fall in love, has kind of a chip on his shoulder, and, just is having a rough time in life. And she says, in a world where you need to choose between anger and empathy, always choose empathy. And he's like, no, when you're angry at somebody and you're mad, you get mad. And she's like, no, you always choose empathy, because you never know what someone's going through. And pretty much the whole book and her whole life is kind of based on that premise. And she shows him over and over again how, if you think about it, maybe that person just got divorced and was having a really bad moment, and that's why that happened. And it changes his opinion over and over again, because she thinks of the things that could have happened to the person, and then that's why something caused you to be angry with them. It's really good. So, highly recommend. Then I finished Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. It was okay. I like Sally Rooney. But it's just a dramatic story of a person's inner thoughts and life, right? So there is not a whole ton that happens. It's just this woman's brilliant, genius woman's thoughts and her relationships with these people in her life that come and go. She has an affair with a married man, and she has this close friendship. lesbian love affair with this other woman that she was friends with, and there's not a big crisis. There's not a lot that happens. It's just kind of the dramatic background story. I could not listen, which means that it's good, right? Because I could have stopped listening because I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. But then I really wanted to know like what was going to happen. It's a slow burn, right? And then a little bit of a ending where you're like, well, thank God they tell you what's going to happen, because it's one of those that you think maybe she's just going to leave it up in the air at the end, but she doesn't. And you're like, okay, thank you. Like I needed to know that. And then I am just finishing. I should have finished before I started. Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. And this is a story of a friendship of two women, both writers, and the one woman's very successful, the other is not. Her friend dies and she steals her manuscript. And she is white and the other woman is Asian, and the book is about World War II Chinese people and what comes of this whole thing and whether or not she gets found out. I don't want to give too much away. It is really good. It's been on the top lists all over for quite a while. I finally got it on Libby. I've been wanting to read it for a long time. How you can get blown up on social media, you can get canceled, and the whole time you're just kind of in suspense. She's kind of a terrible person. You don't really like her, and yet she's gotten herself in this really bad situation. So, yeah, very good. I had some good ones this time. Really good books. All right, let's do my giveaways. So this week, oh, I didn't do the drawing. Corey, gotta go over and do the drawing. Oh, Kaylin Rickert. She says, I love that you combine both videos into one longer podcast. Thank you. My favorite knit is the Nature's Walk blanket, free pattern on Ravelry by Sandra Paul, aka Cherry Heart, that I made for my sister's 50th birthday in 2021. She calls it her love blanket and has a permanent home in her living room. Oh, that's lovely. Well, there you go. Kaylin, you won the prize for the Gigi orange striping yarn that I made my scarf out of, tape measure, the little mouse kit, which is so cute, that I should have made, but I'm just not going to ever get to that. I'm just too busy with design work. You have a ruler in here. You have the Cocoa Knits bag. Oh, all kinds of treats. This week's giveaway is 3 skeins of Zen Garden yarn in purples, which are beautiful. They are 50 gram skeins, 200 yards each. I was like, wait a second, my math was not mathing. Yeah, so fingering weight, it's called Pansies, really pretty. And because it's pansies, I'm gonna give away a little leaf and stitch marker end stopper and 2 orange toggles for your needles and a little sheep sticker. So that will be for next time. And what I want you to do is go over to makersway.com and tell me whether or not you would purchase the lilac color or the dahlia colorway. Which one would you prefer, lilac or dahlia? Okay, that would be great if you'd go over and hit their website. That's about all I have for you this week. I'm so thankful that you're here over on Patreon. Means the world to me. And I hope that you stick with me and that you can make it to book club at the beginning of June and to knit night at the end of June. I will see you in 2 weeks. Keep it colorful. Love you all. Come in for a big hug. Bye.